Welcome to Galactic Tales YT, where the world of science fiction comes to life through powerful stories, emotional journeys, and breathtaking adventures across the stars. He fixed an alien's broken craft and accidentally got his dream job at 03.17 standard colony time. The stars blinked out. Not all of them, just a few. But on the long night shift at Eden 9's Deep Space Observatory, that was enough to make every human in the room freeze. Technician Mira Doss leaned forward, tapping her screen.
"That's impossible," she whispered.
"Stars don't just turn off." Beside her, old Dr. Wren flicked through spectral readings, his wrinkled hands shaking. "They didn't vanish," he said softly. "Something passed in front of them. Something massive." Before they could say more, the lights in the observatory flickered. Static washed over the comm channels. Then, silence. And in that silence, a deep vibration rolled through the ground like the heartbeat of a sleeping god. Miles below, in the city dome of New Bastion, people felt it too. Coffee cups rattled. Windows trembled. A baby started crying. Then, far above the atmosphere, the sky bent. Not like lightning, not like a storm, but as if someone had taken the heavens and folded them. A dark line appeared, splitting the horizon in two. And from that line, shapes emerged, sharp, silent, endless. The first alien ship entered orbit without a sound. Then came 10 more, and then came the voice. It wasn't heard through speakers or comms. It was heard inside every mind. "This world belongs to the Crothar Dominion. You will not resist." Every human froze as the words echoed through their skulls. Some screamed, some dropped to their knees. Others, like Commander Liam Cross of Outpost Meridian, clenched their jaws and refused to bow. He stood before his officers, his face hard, his voice low. "Whoever they are, they've made a mistake. Humans don't surrender their homes." Outside, the stars were gone, replaced by a dark armada that stretched across the stratosphere like a second sky. 3 hours later, the first beam fell. A column of blue energy slammed into Eden 9's defense ring, melting steel and vaporizing satellites. The sound came seconds later, a deep, rolling shockwave that shattered glass across half the colony. The alien fleet moved with terrifying precision. No visible weapons, no heat signatures, no transmissions. They simply acted, and humans, as always, reacted. "Power up planetary shields." Cross barked, his boots pounding across the command deck. "Shields at 40% charging. Evacuate the outer settlements." "Communications jammed, Commander. We're cut off from Earth." Every voice in the room shouted over alarms until the power flickered again. Then came the screams from the civilian channels. The aliens had landed. Their dropships struck the ground like meteors, leaving craters where farms once grew. Out of the smoke came tall insectoid forms, armor black as oil, eyes like molten glass. The Crothar didn't speak, didn't warn. They simply walked through gunfire as if bullets were rain. They fired no projectiles. Their weapons hummed, and anything caught in their path dissolved into silver ash. Cross watched the feed, jaw tight. "They're not trying to destroy us," he said slowly. "They're collecting." "Collecting what?" Lieutenant Ray Lynn whispered. He looked at the screen, where civilians were being pulled upward into beams of light. Us. By sunrise, half of Eden 9's defense network was gone. The sky was full of falling ships. Not human, not friendly. Cross stood on the ridge overlooking the northern settlement. The city burned behind him, its domes cracked open like broken glass. "This was supposed to be a quiet colony," Ray said beside him, her voice hollow. "No armies, no weapons. Just farming and research." Cross's answer was a whisper. "War never asks for permission." Above them, a shadow passed. A massive alien carrier, miles wide, moving like a storm cloud. Its underside glowed faintly, patterns shifting across its hull like living metal. Ray squinted. "It's scanning us." Cross's wristcom crackled with static, then cleared. A voice, calm and cold. "Your resistance will be brief." Cross raised his weapon toward the sky. "We'll see about that." He fired the first shot. The plasma bolt streaked upward, exploding against the carrier's armor. For a moment it did nothing, then the explosion spread. Alien hull plating buckled. A cheer rose from the human outpost, but the celebration ended too soon. Before their eyes, the damage began repairing itself. Metall regnit. Fire faded. The wound healed. Ray took a step back. It's alive. Cross stared at the impossible sight. No, he said slowly. It's learning. Down in the city, survivors scrambled into bunkers. Some prayed. Some loaded weapons. Children cried as power systems failed one by one. At the edge of the colony, an old farmer named Jonas Hale watched the sky and whispered, "We've seen monsters before." He lifted a rusty old railgun, the kind used in the Mars rebellions decades ago. "But they've never seen us angry." He fired once, and his shot, tiny against the vast dark ships, sparked 1,000 others. Civilians became soldiers. Engineers became hackers. Medics became leaders, and across Eden 9, a spark caught flame. For the first time, the Crothar paused. Something in the human resistance, the raw defiance, the unity, the rage, confused them. Their scans had predicted surrender, obedience, fear, but instead, they found chaos and courage, and Commander Cross, standing on the smoking ridge, raised his voice to the surviving channels. "Listen up. They think we're just animals. They think we'll kneel. They're wrong." He stared at the burning sky where alien ships loomed like gods. "You messed with humans." "Bad move." The message went out across every open frequency. No military slogans. No fancy orders. Just that one line. And across the dying world, 1,000 hands reached for weapons, because the war had just begun. The human counter-strike silence. For the first time in 30 hours, the skies of Eden 9 were quiet. The alien ships hung motionless above the planet, dark giants waiting, watching. The cities below smoldered. Forests burned. Communication towers lay broken and lifeless. Commander Liam Cross sat inside the half-ruined command bunker, staring at a cracked holomap. Red dots covered the screen, enemy positions. Blue ones, human defenses. There were barely any left. "They stopped firing," whispered Lieutenant Ray Lynn. "Why would they stop?" Cross didn't look up. "They're studying us, learning." He pressed a trembling hand against the table. "They think they already won." Outside, wind whistled through shattered steel. The war had begun less than 2 days ago. Half the colony was gone. But deep beneath the ruins, something was changing. Because humans, when pushed to the edge, don't just break. They build under the old mining fields of Sector 9, a hidden door opened. Inside the tunnels, engineers, soldiers, and civilians worked by the dim blue light of generators. The air smelled of smoke and oil. "Sparks flew from broken machines. Keep it steady!" shouted Chief Engineer Merrick Vale, a broad-shouldered man covered in grime. "We've got one chance at this." In front of him stood a weapon, not alien, not standard issue. A strange hybrid of human steel and scavenged Crothar tech. They called it Project Nemesis. Its heart was a stolen alien core, ripped from a fallen dropship, still glowing with blue energy. Around it, humans had welded armor plates, circuit boards, and railgun parts. Ray entered the room with a group of soldiers. "You're actually going to power that thing?" Merrick grinned, eyes wild. "You bet. The aliens use energy that adapts, right? So let's see how they handle their own power, turned against them." Ray looked at the unstable reactor, then at the cracked walls around them. "If it explodes, it won't," Merrick interrupted. Then he paused. "Probably." Up above, the alien fleet began to move again. Small craft descended, scanning the surface, searching for life. The Crothar were cold and methodical. They didn't hate. They harvested, but their readings began to fail. Signals distorted. Coordinates scrambled. Inside the human bunkers, Cross had activated the oldest form of resistance, chaos. They hacked the aliens' scanners with recycled Earth tech, feeding false signals and ghost images. Whole squads of humans moved unseen, guided by instinct more than instruments. At dawn, the first counterstrike began. A group of 20 soldiers crawled through the ruins of New Bastion's industrial zone, carrying scavenged plasma rifles. Above them, 2 alien drones hovered like silent hawks. "Wait for it," whispered Ray. Her team crouched low behind broken cargo crates. The drones scanned, their lights flickering, then glitched. For 1 second, they hesitated. That was enough. Now, a blast of blue plasma tore through the air. Both drones exploded in a flash of light. The soldiers cheered quietly and sprinted forward. It wasn't victory. Not yet. But it was hope. Meanwhile, deep in the mining tunnels, Project Nemesis roared to life. The entire cavern shook as the alien core began to spin, glowing brighter and brighter until it bathed the chamber in blue light. "Stabilizers holding," Marek shouted. "Power at 120%. Cross's voice crackled through the comms. "Marek, this thing better work. We've only got one shot." "Oh, it'll work," the engineer said, tightening a bolt with both hands. "And if it doesn't?" "We'll make it work." He slammed a lever down. The weapon pulsed, once, twice, and then fired. A beam of twisting blue light shot upward, piercing through rock, metal, and atmosphere until it hit the nearest alien ship. The Crothar vessel shuddered violently. Its shields tried to absorb the energy, but the human-engineered frequency was different, unpredictable. It wasn't clean or elegant. It was messy, chaotic, human, and that chaos broke the ship's adaptive systems. For the first time, a Crothar battleship fell. It crashed into Eden 9's eastern ocean with a sound that rolled across the planet like thunder. The shockwave knocked ships from the sky, ripped apart clouds, and sent waves smashing against distant shores. Inside the bunker, humans erupted into cheers. People hugged, cried, shouted. For the first time since the invasion began, they won something. Cross leaned against the console, smiling faintly. "Message to Earth Command, if they're still listening." Ray looked at him. "What should I say?" He smirked. "Tell them humanity just made first contact." The hard way. But in orbit, the alien fleet shifted again. The fall of one ship didn't scare the Crothar. It fascinated them. They began to adapt faster, changing frequencies, adjusting shields, studying the strange, dirty energy humans had unleashed. Cross knew it wouldn't last. The aliens were too smart, too advanced. But he also knew something else. Now, they were afraid. For the first time, the Crothar realized their mistake. Humans didn't fight to win. They fought because they refused to lose. Hours later, in the dark quiet of the command room, Cross stood alone. He stared out through the cracked glass of the bunker, watching the distant fire of the downed alien ship still burning on the horizon. Ray walked in quietly. "They'll come back," she said. "Stronger, I know," Cross replied. "Then what do we do?" He looked at her, eyes cold but alive. "We remind them what happens when you underestimate us." He turned toward the holomap, now glowing with hundreds of new blue signals, more human survivors joining the network. Soldiers, engineers, miners, farmers, a whole planet rising again, Cross smiled. "We're done surviving. It's time to fight back." Outside, the dawn broke through the smoke, painting the ruins gold. Somewhere deep underground, Project Nemesis hummed, alive. Growing stronger and far above in the alien mothership, the Crothar high mind watched the strange defiant species below and finally understood one thing. They hadn't invaded a planet. They had awakened a predator. Ghosts in the machines. No one knew who did it first. Some said it was a teenage hacker from the ruins of New Bastion. Others claimed it was an old AI left behind from Earth's last war. But the first alien ship to hear voices didn't care who started it, because those voices weren't supposed to exist. The Crothar battleship Zin Theta drifted above Eden 9's orbit, its crew moving with mechanical precision. They were not used to mistakes. They didn't feel fear, until the light started whispering. "Hello, monsters." The words glitched across their systems in human English, broken and full of static. "You took our people." "Now we're inside your head." The ship's data feeds flickered. Sensors malfunctioned. Energy readings spiked and dropped. For the first time, the Crothar hesitated. They scanned for the signal source. Found nothing, because the humans weren't attacking from the outside anymore. They were inside the machines. 2 days earlier, beneath the shattered plains of Sector 7, Commander Liam Cross had gathered what was left of Eden 9's tech division. 20 engineers, 4 AI programmers, and 1 exhausted ex-cybercriminal named Tess Harker, humanity's best chance at fighting a war they couldn't win with guns. She sat on a crate, chewing on a wire, her eyes glowing faintly from neural implants. "You want me to hack an alien hive network?" she said flatly. "With what, Commander? A toaster and a prayer?" Cross handed her a cracked datapad. "We salvaged fragments from a Crothar drone. You can use that as an access key." Tess laughed, dry and humorless. "You realize these things think faster than we can blink, right?" Their ships talk to each other. "You hack one, the rest know instantly." Cross leaned closer. "Then don't let them know." She stared at him for a long second, then smiled. "You're insane." "Good," he said. "That means you'll fit right in." It started small. They created a digital ghost, a self-learning human AI called Spectre. It didn't fight directly. It haunted. Whenever Crothar ships scanned human positions, Spectre slipped inside their code, whispering, flickering, deleting commands, mimicking voices of their own soldiers. Soon, the aliens began shooting at their own reflections. On day 4, a Crothar scout vessel opened fire on its fleetmate, convinced it was human. The confusion spread like wildfire. Their perfect synchronization became chaos. Commander Cross watched the feed from his bunker, a rare grin spreading across his tired face. "They wanted to study us," he said quietly. "Now they're getting a human education." Ray Lin nodded beside him, eyes wide as another alien ship exploded. "We turned their own code against them. They can't adapt fast enough." "Not yet," Cross replied. "But they will. That's why we keep changing the rules." Inside the alien mothership, the Crothar High Mind felt it. Something human inside its network. Not physical, not biological. A virus that laughed. It spoke in broken code, weaving through systems too fast to catch. "We're coming for what you took. You wanted samples? Here's humanity's sample." The High Mind tried to isolate the signal, but every firewall it built collapsed into static laughter. Every counterattack only made the ghost multiply. The Crothar had never faced an enemy that enjoyed chaos. On Eden 9, Tess Harker leaned back in her chair, eyes flickering as she jacked deeper into the alien mainframe. "They're trying to trace me," she murmured. "Can you hold them off?" Cross asked. She smirked. "Can I?" "Commander, I am the glitch." Her fingers danced over the controls, sending them a little. "Confusion package." A moment later, half the alien fleet's internal sensors went blind. Their navigation systems turned upside down. They thought the planet was spinning backward. Ray stared at the readings. "How did you do that?" Tess chuckled. "Humans make messy code. Machines hate messy. That's why we're still better at lying." But victory came with a cost. Every time Spectre infected a Crothar system, the alien AI tried to reverse engineer it. The more the humans fought inside the network, the smarter the enemy became, and then it happened. At Oro 3 hours, all human comms went dark. Every screen in the command center turned black. Then a single line of text appeared, written in English. "We have learned your chaos." Tess froze. Oh no, the lights flickered. One of the computers began smoking. And through the speakers, a new voice spoke, low, metallic, but disturbingly human. "We studied your ghosts. Now we made one." The Crothar had created their own version of Spectre, an alien ghost that could move through human systems. Within minutes, it attacked. Screens exploded with static. Generators overloaded. Spectre, the human AI, fought back. Invisible code battling invisible code inside a storm of data. Tess screamed, gripping her neural link. "They're inside my head!" "I can't—" Cross grabbed her shoulder. "Stay with me!" I'm trying." Sparks flew as systems overloaded. Tess convulsed, then went still. The lights went out. Silence. Then her voice came, calm, steady, but different. "Commander." "It's me!" Cross's heart pounded. "Tess?" She opened her eyes. They glowed silver blue. I stopped them. "But I had to merge with Spectre to do it," Ray whispered. "You mean you're part machine now?" Tess smiled faintly. "No, the machine's part human now." That night, the Crothar fleet retreated farther into orbit, disoriented, scanning for a signal they could no longer find. Inside their systems, a new message appeared. You wanted to understand humanity. Now humanity lives inside you. Their ships glitched again, lights flickering, sensors screaming. Somewhere between their circuits and data streams, something human laughed, not with fear, not with anger, with joy, because the ghosts were loose now, and the Crothar were finally learning the most important human lesson. You don't just fight humans. You wake them up. Price of fire. The fire burned for 7 days. Not the alien kind, not the blue plasma that ate metal, but real, human fire. Smoke from shattered cities curled into the upper atmosphere, glowing orange under the pale suns of Eden 9. And in that firelight, humans built again. Children carried ammunition crates. Farmers repaired plasma rifles. Old miners welded armor onto broken transports. There were no civilians anymore, only survivors. Commander Liam Cross stood at the edge of the crater where New Bastion once stood. The ruins still glowed faintly from the battle. Around him, soldiers worked quietly, too tired for words. 3,000 gone, said Lieutenant Ray Lynn, her voice small. Cross didn't look at her. No, 3,000 remembered. He reached down, picking up a burnt piece of glass. His reflection stared back, smoke-stained, hollow-eyed, but still alive. Commander, Ray said carefully, you need rest. He turned the glass in his hand. I'll rest when they're gone. Far above in orbit, the Crothar high mind pulsed with cold intelligence. Their losses on Eden 9 had been instructive. The humans' ghosts had corrupted part of their network. Their adaptive systems were damaged, but they had learned something new. Human defiance was not random. It had pattern, emotion, grief, love, things the Crothar could measure but never feel. They decided to burn those patterns out completely, a new fleet detached from the main armada, a cleansing force of 50 ships heading, not for Eden 9 this time, but for Earth. Back on the colony, a faint signal pierced the static. The message was old, distorted, but unmistakable. This is Admiral Cortez of the Earth Defense Council. Message received. Reinforcements are coming! The bunker erupted in cheers, but Cross only stared at the map. He zoomed in on the incoming transmission. It wasn't coming to Eden 9. It was coming past it. Ray frowned. They're not stopping? No, Cross said slowly. They're heading home. Ray's eyes widened. Earth? He nodded grimly. The Crothar are moving toward Earth. They're going for the heart. 3 days later, the first human fleet broke through the worm gate. 70 ships, heavily armed, flying under Earth's flag. The flagship ESS Dauntless led the way, its hull engraved with a single motto, "We endure." Cross watched from Eden 9's surface as the ships streaked past the colony's night sky, burning like falling stars. The sight stirred something deep inside him, pride, fear, and a fierce ache of belonging. We lit the fire, Ray said beside him. Now the galaxy will feel it. He nodded, eyes never leaving the heavens. They wanted to study humanity. They'll learn the price of fire. Meanwhile, on the ESS Dauntless, Admiral Cortez stood before the war table surrounded by holographic projections. The Crothar are using wormhole jumps, he said to his officers. They're 20 hours from Earth orbit. We hit them before they reach home. Someone asked, and if we can't? Cortez's gaze hardened. Then we show them what it costs to burn our world. He opened a secured channel. Cross, this is Dauntless. We're diverting through Eden 9 for supply pickup. Can you hold the planet? Cross's voice came back, rough and steady. We've been holding since day one, Admiral. Bring the fight to them. At dawn, the second wave of the Crothar arrived. Smaller ships. Fast and sharp, cutting through the atmosphere like blades. This time, the humans were ready. Plasma batteries lined the cliffs. Drones took to the air. From deep underground, Project Nemesis began to hum again, brighter than ever. Target lock, shouted Ray. Fire, Cross said. The sky ignited. Dozens of alien ships fell, their black hulls burning blue. Human anti-air cannons roared across the planet. Every explosion lit up the dark like a heartbeat, chaotic, furious, alive. The humans didn't fight with precision. They fought with passion. And passion, the Crothar discovered, was unpredictable. It burned hotter than logic could understand. High above, the Dauntless fleet intercepted the main alien armada halfway between Eden 9 and Earth. The stars became a battlefield. Human ships moved in wild, Reckless formations that made no tactical sense. Diving, spinning, scattering, confusing the alien targeting systems. The Crothar fired perfectly, but hit nothing but light. Then humanity hit back. Missiles screamed across the void. Plasma cannons tore through the dark. For every human ship destroyed, 3 more rammed the enemy. They didn't retreat. They sacrificed. Cortez stood on the bridge, surrounded by chaos. "They think we fear death," he muttered. "They don't understand. We fear silence." He looked at the burning map of the fleet and whispered, "Light them up." Back on Eden 9, Cross received the transmission, fragmented, full of static. "This is Dauntless. Engaging enemy fleet. Earth defenses ready. Hold your ground." The signal broke, replaced by screams of energy fire and static. Then silence. Ray turned to Cross. "We've lost contact." He stared at the dark sky, his jaw set. "No," he said. "They're still out there, fighting." He raised his communicator. "To all human outposts, this is Commander Cross. The Crothar are coming for everything we are. But remember this." He paused, looking over the horizon where dawn was breaking. "Fire burns everything, but it also creates light. If we fall, they'll see us burn bright enough to blind them." Hours later, the night returned to Eden 9. The battle in orbit flickered like distant lightning. Every explosion was a heartbeat. Every light was a name, somewhere above the chaos. Tess Harker's digital ghost drifted through alien systems, spreading confusion and laughter in equal measure. Her last message echoed across both human and alien channels alike. "You can kill our bodies, but you can't kill the fire that made them." The Crothar high mind hesitated, its cold logic trembling for the first time, because fire, it realized, was not a weapon to be studied. It was a spirit to be feared, and humanity had just taught the galaxy how much that spirit could burn. Of Earth, it began with a heartbeat, a single deep pulse that shook the oceans and rolled through the sky like thunder. But it wasn't a natural sound. It came from the stars. From orbit, the alien fleet appeared as a wall of black fire blotting out the moon. Thousands of Crothar warships, each larger than a city, now circled the blue planet. Their arrival was silent, but the world below felt it. Every radio, every screen, every phone on Earth flickered at once. Then the voice came. Cold. "Inhuman and final, humans of Earth, you are known. You are studied. You are done." For 5 full seconds, nothing answered. The whole planet held its breath. Then a second voice. Human. Raw. Defiant. Cut through every signal on every frequency. "We are never done." The transmission came from Earth Defense Command, buried beneath the mountains of Colorado. General Arya Sol, the last surviving High Commander, stood before the global comms terminal. Her uniform was torn, her face streaked with soot, but her voice was steel. "All stations, all nations. This is Earth. The Crothar are here. They think we're broken. Let's remind them what home means." Her words traveled like wildfire. Across continents, the world woke. In the cities, lights came on. In the oceans, hidden submarines rose to the surface. In orbit, hundreds of defense satellites turned their lenses toward the stars. And across the sky, millions of people looked up, not with fear, but with fury. From the ruins of London, a child drew the Earth flag in ash. From the deserts of Cairo, engineers powered up an ancient solar cannon. From the frozen tundra, old soldiers stood in the snow, rifles ready. For the first time in history, humanity was truly one world, in orbit. Admiral Cortez's battered flagship Dauntless limped into Earth's defensive line. The ship was half destroyed, hull glowing red from the last battle near Eden 9. But it was still alive. "Status?" Cortez demanded. "Shields failing but engines stable," came the reply. "Then we're not dead yet," the Admiral said. He looked through the viewport at the countless enemy ships surrounding Earth. "Let's make them wish we were." The Dauntless joined formation beside Earth's orbital cannons, old relics from forgotten wars. One by one, they began to glow. On the planet's surface, General Saul's voice echoed again. "To all resistance cells, this is our world. Fight from the streets, fight from the shadows. Every bridge, every forest, every home, make them pay for every inch they take. And humanity obeyed. From New York's burning skyline to the flooded cities of Asia, humans fought with everything they had, not organized armies anymore, but living ghosts. When the Crothar troops landed, they found cities full of traps and signals full of lies. Holographic decoys misled their scanners. Drone swarms confused their targeting systems. The aliens came to conquer. They walked into chaos. One Crothar squad entered the ruins of Paris and found it empty. Their scanners detected hundreds of human life signs underground. They fired a plasma burst into the tunnels. The explosion shook the ground, but the life signs remained. When the aliens investigated, they discovered the signals weren't human. They were recordings. Old radio broadcasts from the 20th century of voices, laughter, songs, the echo of lives long gone. As the Crothar stood frozen, listening to ghostly human music echo through the rubble, a whisper came from the shadows. Welcome to Earth. And then the streets exploded. Up in orbit. The Dauntless fired first. Every cannon, every railgun, every missile Earth had, they launched at once. The sky turned white. The shockwaves rippled through the atmosphere. For a brief moment, it looked like the alien wall was breaking. Ships exploded. Debris fell like burning meteors. But then, as always, the Crothar adapted. Their shields shifted colors, absorbing the energy. "Admiral," shouted his tactical officer, "they're absorbing our plasma fire." Cortez smiled grimly. "Good. Let's see how they handle nuclear." He slammed his palm on the launch console. Below, from hidden silos buried deep under the continents, the old warheads of Earth's darker past awakened. Weapons never meant to be used again. Hundreds of fusion missiles tore through the clouds, their contrails like silver veins in the night. They hit the alien shields together, and this time, the shields screamed. The explosion didn't just destroy ships, it broke the Crothar network itself. In the chaos, the human AI Spectre, now merged with Tess Harker's consciousness, struck again. She slipped through the alien systems like a whisper through smoke, carrying a virus built from human unpredictability. Inside the Crothar command network, alarms wailed. Orders reversed, coordinates flipped. The aliens began to shoot at their own. Cortez saw it happen on his radar, ships colliding, firing wildly. "They're turning on each other," he whispered. "Sir," said his comm officer, "who's controlling them?" He smiled faintly. "Someone who used to be human. On the planet, the people saw the fire in the sky. Some thought it was the end of the world. Others knew better. In the ashes of ruined cities, survivors looked up and saw the stars burning. But this time, it wasn't the enemy's doing. It was theirs. A mother in Mumbai whispered to her daughter, "That's not fire, sweetie. That's Earth fighting back." In the alien mothership, the high mind screamed in frequencies no human could hear. Its data streams fractured. Its logic looped endlessly around one truth it couldn't erase. Humans didn't fight for domination. They fought for memory, for the smell of rain, the sound of laughter, the taste of home, and no weapon could erase that. The high mind tried one last desperate command: retreat. But the command didn't reach its ships. Spectre had already cut the line. A final message appeared across every alien monitor, glowing in bright white human text. "You studied our strength. You measured our fear. But you never understood our love." And with that, the human virus detonated across the alien fleet. The night above Earth turned to dawn. Hours later, silence fell. The battle was over. The Crothar were gone, their ships burning across the upper atmosphere like falling stars. On the ground, people emerged from bunkers and ruins, blinking up at the light. For the first time in years, Earth saw the sunrise unchallenged. Admiral Cortez's final transmission echoed through every surviving speaker. "We're still here, and somewhere in the digital winds between stars," a voice, half human, half code, whispered softly. "The ghosts of Earth remember." The last lesson space was quiet again. No explosions, no alarms, no screams over broken channels. Only silence. A silence so deep it felt wrong. Above the blue curve of Earth drifted the wreckage of the Crothar fleet, their once perfect ships now frozen tombs of metal and shadow. The war was over. But peace hadn't arrived. On the bridge of the ESS Dauntless, Admiral Cortez stood before the viewport, staring at the endless graveyard of ships. His reflection looked older than he remembered, gray eyes, hollow cheeks, and the weight of too many decisions. "They're gone," said Lieutenant Arden softly behind him. "Every Crothar ship in our system is dead." Cortez didn't move. "Dead," he repeated. "No, they retreated," Arden frowned. "Sir, sensors show no warp signatures." "Nothing escaped." Cortez turned slowly. "That's what worries me." He glanced at the tactical display. Half of the fleet's power grid still flickered. Earth's cities were rebuilding, but the signals from deep space, the strange, coded whispers, hadn't stopped. Something out there was listening. 2 weeks later, the United Earth Fleet gathered around the moon for what would be humanity's most daring mission yet. Project Retribution. It wasn't about defense anymore. It was a journey into Crothar space. The mission's goal was simple: find the High Mind, the source of the invasion, and end it forever. Cortez briefed the commanders in a dim war room beneath the Dauntless Bridge. A hologram of the galaxy glowed before them, a cold spiral of stars and red zones marking enemy systems. "We've spent centuries defending," he said. "Now we teach them why humans stopped fighting each other, because we learned how to fight everything else." Someone asked, "Sir, what if we find survivors?" Cortez looked up. His voice was calm, but there was something in his eyes: regret. "Then we show them mercy," he said. "Because mercy is the last lesson monsters never learn." The fleet departed quietly. No speeches, no songs, only the hum of engines and the whisper of ghosts in the comms. Among the ships was the ESS Horizon, commanded by Ray Lin, once Cross's lieutenant, now captain. As her ship entered the worm gate, she whispered a line from humanity's oldest poem: "We sail not to conquer, but to remind the stars who we are." The wormhole opened to a sea of red. The Crothar home system wasn't beautiful. It was terrifying. A dying sun surrounded by black stations. Planets stripped bare by centuries of machine harvests. No life, no music, no color. Just endless silence and the hum of cold machines. "God," Ray breathed, staring at the view. "They hollowed out their own world." Cortez's voice came over the fleet-wide channel. "Stay sharp. The High Mind's core should be on the central planet. Designation Cronar Prime." The ships descended into orbit. That's when the singing started. At first, it was faint. A vibration through the comms, not sound, but rhythm. The alien network trying to communicate. Then it grew louder. "We learned your code," said a voice. "Half human, half machine. We remember your ghosts." Tess Harker. Her digital echo, still fused with the Spectre AI, had followed them through the void. "Spectre," Ray whispered. The voice continued. "The High Mind is broken, but not dead. It hides beneath the surface, afraid. You must decide what comes next. Can we destroy it?" Cortez asked. Silence. Then, "Yes. But remember what it taught you. Fear makes monsters. Mercy makes humans." The fleet landed. The surface of Cronar Prime was a desert of glass and steel. Towering structures twisted toward the blood-red sky. The air shimmered with static electricity. Ray led the landing squad into the core chamber, a vast cathedral of black stone and humming light. At its center hung a sphere the size of a city, pulsing faintly. "The High Mind," Ray said quietly. "It's dying." A voice filled the chamber, distorted and faintly trembling. "Humans. Learned. Humans? Adapt. We fear." For the first time, the Crothar sounded alive. Cortez's voice came over comms. "Fire when ready." Ray raised her weapon. Her finger hovered over the trigger. Then she remembered Cross's words from Eden 9. "Fire burns everything, but it also creates light." She lowered the gun. "No," she said softly. "We're not executioners. We came to end the war, not erase a species." The High Mind pulsed again, confused. Mercy, why? Ray looked up at the glowing sphere. Because it's something you'll never understand until someone shows you. She turned away. Admiral, the target is neutralized. Leave it. Cortez hesitated, then nodded. Copy that, Captain. We're done here. As the human fleet departed the ruined world, a strange thing happened. The Crothar systems stopped fighting. Their remaining ships shut down their weapons and began transmitting new signals. Not threats, not commands. Requests for communication. Back on the Dauntless, Cortez stared at the message as it appeared across the screen. Teach us. Weeks later, as the fleet returned home, the stars no longer looked the same. They weren't distant anymore. They were connected. Each one a reminder of what humanity had survived and what it had chosen not to become. Ray stood at the viewport, watching the endless light. Do you think they'll change? She asked quietly. Cortez joined her, his voice low. I think they already did, because someone finally showed them what being human means. Ray smiled faintly. The last lesson, he nodded, and the hardest one to learn. Outside, the stars seemed to pulse, not with threat, but with rhythm, like a heartbeat, the galaxy's heartbeat. And this time, it beat in harmony with humanity. Legacy of the Fire, it began again. Not with war this time, but with a whisper, a sound carried through the stars, older than memory, gentle as light. It wasn't a command, it wasn't a cry for help. It was a song, and it came from Earth. 1,000 years had passed since the War of Fire. The scars had healed, but the story remained. Across a galaxy once divided by fear, humans and Crothar now lived together, trading, exploring, dreaming. The Alliance of Light, they called it. Born from fire, built on forgiveness. The old fleets were gone. The weapons slept in museums. Children played where soldiers once fought. Yet every year, on the day of the flame, the galaxies stopped their ships and faced the blue world where it all began. Every beacon, every signal station, every ship, all sent the same short message through the stars. We remember the fire. In the great academy of Nexus Prime, a young hybrid cadet named Eliara Cross, half human, half Crothar, walked beneath a sky of artificial light. Her skin shimmered faintly blue, her eyes bright green, and in her chest, the same heartbeat that once defied extinction. She stood before a monument, an ancient metal plate cracked with age. On it were carved the final words of Admiral Cortez. We fought to survive. We survived to teach. We taught to become more. Eliara traced the letters with her fingers. She had grown up hearing the stories, of the humans who burned brighter than logic, of the Crothar who learned to feel. But to her, they weren't legends. They were family. Her great-grandmother was Ray Lynn. Her great-grandfather was one of the last Crothar engineers to rebuild their world. Together, they had rewritten the meaning of civilization. Cadet Cross, said a voice behind her. It was Instructor Varn, an elderly Crothar with silver veins running along his neck, a living reminder of how far his species had come. The Council awaits you. You're to represent both races in the Deep Signal Project, Eliara blinked. The one from beyond the Edge systems? He nodded gravely. It started 3 weeks ago. A message. Unidentified, non-Crothar, non-human. Repeating the same phrase. What phrase? Varn looked at her for a long moment. Who taught you mercy? Eliara felt a chill run through her. Hours later, she sat in the control room of the Alliance listening array, orbiting the quiet gas giant Orthus. Screens surrounded her, filled with static coordinates and one pulsing waveform. The signal was faint but rhythmic, like a heartbeat slowed by distance. Her team, humans and Crothar alike, worked in silence. No one spoke as she amplified the feed. The voice that emerged was distorted, ancient but familiar. Fire. Teaches. Light. Remembers. Who taught? You? The sound faded, replaced by static again. Origin? Eliara asked quietly. Unknown, said the technician. Somewhere outside our mapped galaxy. Too far for a reply. But something inside Eliara stirred. Something deep in her blood, in her memory, in the shared story of her ancestors. She turned to her team. Prepare a response beacon. Hours later, the beacon launched into deep space, a small, glowing sphere carrying humanity's newest message to the unknown. We were taught by fire. We were changed by mercy. And we are ready to listen. The sphere vanished into the black. Eliara stood at the viewport, staring after it until it was gone. Her reflection, a blend of human warmth and Crothar calm, shimmered against the glass. Varn approached beside her. "Do you think anyone will answer?" Eliara smiled faintly. "If the stars still remember us, then someone already has." Far beyond the edge of the known galaxy, the beacon drifted for decades, through dust clouds, frozen light and forgotten war zones. Eventually, something found it. Not Crothar, not human. Something older, watching, listening. The beacon's message played once more in the endless dark. We were taught by fire, and in reply, a new light blinked, slow, thoughtful, alive. Then came a whisper across the cosmic static. "Carried by forces older than time. Then the fire still burns. Back on Nexus Prime." The stars above the city flickered, faint, rhythmic, almost like a pulse. Eliara looked up from her study desk and smiled. No one else noticed, but she did. Because she recognized that rhythm. It was the same heartbeat that once shook the galaxy awake. The heartbeat of humans. The fire hadn't died. It had just found a new home, in every heart that still dared to care. They tried to study humanity. Instead, humanity taught the stars to feel. If you enjoyed this video, like this video, subscribing, and clicking the bell icon to stay updated with fresh content every day.